Here's a profound question for you. Is now the time to clean up our mess so that we can love each other again as one human family? Kerri Hummingbird, who is a medicine woman, a mother, a mentor, and the founder of the Mystery School Inner Medicine Training, has the answer for you. During this enlightening, inspiring, and insights-filled interview, you are going to learn about the ways we can leave stress and drama behind in favor of self-care and conscious relating, how best to avoid compassion, and how the Age of Aquarius will bring about a shift in the collective consciousness. Come join Kerri and me. Many blessings.
Hi there, and welcome to the Grief and Rebirth podcast. I'm your host, author and trauma survivor Irene Weinberg, here to encourage you wherever you are in your healing journey. In each episode, I chat with incredible grief and trauma specialists, healers, mediums, and celebs, as well as remarkable people who have inspiring healing stories to share. If you're looking for a podcast that's both uplifting and inspiring, you've found it. Let us help you find your joy in life.
Hi, everyone. I hope this finds each of you so very well. I'm speaking to you from my studio in West Orange, New Jersey, and I could not be more delighted to once again have the pleasure of interviewing Kerri Hummingbird, who will be speaking to us from Cedar Park, Texas. Kerri is a medicine woman, a mother, a mentor, the author of 4 remarkable books, and the founder of Inner Medicine Training, a mystery school that shares potent, ancient traditions from the Andes and Himalayas for owning your wisdom and living your purpose. The 4 books Kerri has authored include her #1 international bestseller titled Inner Medicine, Becoming One with Mother Earth for the Survival of Humanity. Love is Fierce, Healing the Mother Wound. The Second Wave, Transcending the Human Drama, which was on the international bestseller charts for over 278 weeks, and the award-winning best-selling book Awakening to Me, One Woman's Journey to Self-Love, which describes the early years of Kerri's spiritual awakening. As the host of Soul Nectar Show, Kerri inspires people to lead their lives wide awake with an authenticity, passion, and purpose that positively impacts others. And as a healer and mentor, she is known for generating mind shifts that transform life challenges into gifts of wisdom. I'm looking forward to discussing with Kerri the unique soul journey we each embark on, how we can embrace our inner power, strategies to prevent compassion fatigue, the coming shift in our collective consciousness, and so much more for what is sure to be an enlightening, inspiring, and very uplifting interview. Hey, Kerri, a warm, heartfelt welcome back to Grief and Rebirth podcast.
Oh my
God. What a pleasure to see you again.
Thank you so much, Irene. I just love your energy. I love your drive and your purpose and your light. It's just so fantastic to be with you again.
Thank you. I'm glad we're in the collective together. It's so wonderful. And I love sharing your healing wisdom and all that you're doing with all my people, my audience and all that, because it's so much good stuff. So let's start from the beginning, because you were a kid once. So can you tell us about your traumatic early childhood? And I mean, you've come so far from that, and describe the dark night of the soul you experienced, which accompanied your first spiritual awakening. You've had it all, Kerri.
Yeah, it's been quite a ride. So my mom made the choice to marry for love, right? And maybe not so smartly. My natural father it was the 60s. I was born in 69. So, there was free love and there was a lot of experimentation. And my natural father had some really difficult childhood experiences, being left outside hotel rooms when his mother was in there with a man, and just really challenging stuff that you could imagine kind of warped him a little bit in terms of a person, being a person growing up. And he had a really challenging life. And that's why my mom picked to be with. And she really loved him and she thought she could help him and save him. And I think many of us find ourselves in that situation. We fall in love with somebody and we want to save them. And that didn't work. But she didn't think she was going to be able to get pregnant. And then she got pregnant with me and she went, this is not going to work because he didn't really understand boundaries. And he was heading in the direction of molesting me. And, and just for anybody who's gone through that experience, I have so much compassion for you. Luckily for me, my mom nipped it in the bud, and it was just a really brief time when I was 1 year old. But that was enough to leave an indelible impression. So I understand what people go through if you've gone through that. My heart's with you completely. And then she thought she was going to get away from him and found this guy at work who was really successful and all that and got with him and then found out he was a violent drunk. So the next 5 years of my life were with a violent drunk who also didn't know how to deal with himself. And so that was a very scary time to grow up. And, your mind is formed in the first 7 years of your life. Your basic perception of life is formed. And so you get into this track of believing life is a certain way and relationship looks a certain way. And so I had these two really dramatic experiences from 0 to 5. And then about 5 years old, because my mom never gave up, she met another man, who ended up being my dad for most of my life until 2017 when he passed away and was her lifelong partner. Amazing human being, like the kind of person that everybody walks up to and just wants to know, just wants to be friends with, just feels safe, big mountain of love. That was my dad. And so I had these 3 really interesting father figures and these 3 totally different relationships between a man and a woman. So my foundation was kind of cracked, because I didn't have what most people have is like one example, for their first 7 years, but I had like 3. So it led me on this path of confusion.
It was crazy making.
It ended up when I was in my 40s, it manifested. And by the way, I had depression, I'd had suicidal ideation, I'd had all this stuff that really, it was from this early trauma because it got into my brain and it got into my tissues and my body and everything. And it was hard for me to love myself. And I felt a lot of shame about my body and about myself. And even though my parents, my dad and my mom tried to fix it, it was already in motion, and so about 40 is when it combusted. And I went into what they call a dark night of the soul, where I just didn't want to be on the planet anymore. I mean, I'd had suicidal ideation before, but this was different. I was at home all day crying, I couldn't stop crying. And the only thing that made me feel better was to go on art shows and then just go pick up random guys and have sex. That was the only thing I could do to feel better about myself, which you could see was quite damaging to my relationship. So I finally woke up like, I can't do this. I have 2 little boys. I'm not going to train them that this is what marriage looks like. I will not do that. I will not stay just because I made a vow. I will not stay just because I never wanted to be that person that divorces. I will do the right thing. I will end this crazy relationship and I will step forward and follow this voice inside that's telling me there's something greater for me. There's something calling you forward. If you stay here, Kerri, you're going to die. And then your kids will be without a mom. So I knew I just couldn't stay. And at the same time, all those decades of psychotherapy culminated in a diagnosis. So if anybody here has had a diagnosis, it doesn't feel good to be diagnosed as like somehow mentally broken, I mean, they slapped a lot of labels on me. One of them was bipolar. Another one was borderline personality disorder. That was the last one, BPD. So anybody who has those diagnoses, take them with a grain of salt. Because if you make them your identity, your entire life will be about being ashamed of yourself, feeling broken, feeling bad, feeling victimized, feeling used, feeling misunderstood and not wanted and not cared. And that life leads to wanting to not be here. So if you're in that spot, again, I completely get it. And there's another way. There's another way forward. And so I'm here to inspire you on that as we get forward through the interview.
Well, this perfectly leads to my next question, which
Okay,
is
cool.
what a coincidence. What inspired you to pursue your current calling? Because now you go through the dark night of the soul, you go through your spiritual awakening, and here we are together. And now you are honoring your calling as a medicine woman, you're a mentor, and you founded Inner Medicine Training. So tell us about that.
Yeah. So what the current reality is that I'm a messenger. I'm out there speaking on podcasts like this. I have students that come and study with me for years at a time, weekly.
Wow.
We do healing work together. We help them to align to their true self, their essential self, the one within that knows you're a beloved child of God, creator, source, whatever word you like, that knows that you're loved. And that's a beautiful calling. I mean, I live in magic every day, every week. I live in the synchronicity of spirit. So I have this incredible life now. And how did I get there? First of all, I had to decide to live. You have to make that choice. You're either all in or you're out. Like if you're 99% in and 1% out, you're still out. So you have to decide, I'm all in. No matter what comes, I'm all in.
That has to do a little bit, Kerri, would you agree with learning to love yourself in a certain way and have regard for yourself, that you're worth staying on the planet? And did that come from some of the healing that you were doing to raise your self-regard?
Yeah, it totally did, because at the end of my marriage, when I decided to end it, because I kind of woke up at this moment of clarity, and I looked around at my life and I looked at what I was doing and I looked at him and how he was coping with it and what example we were setting. And I said, oh no, because I had a good example. I had my dad and my mom who loved each other. I had some bad examples before that to remember. So that was what I was playing out and healing through this relationship, right? And through my behavior, I was healing those early things, because a lot of times those things have to resurface. But I didn't know that at the time. I just knew, what am I doing? Oh my God, I have to stop this. I cannot set this example. And when I made that choice, I took the leap of faith. That is the hardest thing to do. When you don't know if you're going to be able to pay your bills, or you're going to be able to cope, or you're going to be able to manage, or you're going to be able to hold it together, and you just go, I'm following this voice inside me that says, if you don't, you're going to die. Okay, that's a good incentive. So I left. And pretty soon I got right into yoga. I had my first spiritual mentor. I didn't even know what that was. I had one. It was great. And then I got into my first shamanic program. And basically, I got a hold of the book, The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I started reading all this stuff that I wish I had read in third grade. I was like, why didn't anybody tell me why I don't take it personally? That would have helped. That information would have been useful. And so I just was like a buffet of knowledge and wisdom and guidance. I was like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been waiting for my whole life, for somebody to tell me. I knew there was more to this than weekly psychotherapy sessions going in and complaining about my life. Like I knew that was a start, but that wasn't the whole picture. So when I took that leap, I just got led to one teacher, to another teacher, to another thing. And I was just in awe, wonder, and delight, literally. That's when I started writing my first book, Awakening to Me. And it was totally a partnership with spirit. So I started opening up this whole new way of living. And pretty soon, like within a year, I had this vision of Hummingbird. And I think I shared it on your last episode.
You did, and you got a good memory, because I yes, you did. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and it was like a drum journey where I had this vision of Hummingbird just rising up in this house I wanted to buy, like rainbow light. And it was this moment of, oh, wow, I didn't make that happen. That's totally spirit. This is crazy. And I thought, that's my ally. So I changed my name to Kerri Hummingbird to access that frequency and to lift myself out of darkness and despair into something greater that was possible for me.
Kerri, were you always able to hear? Because I know that you channeled a lot of your book and you get these messages. So what do you say to the people who are listening, who they don't hear quite like that?
Yeah.
To get the messages.
In order to hear, I always kept my channel open because I always did art. So that's one thing I did for myself that was a grace and a blessing, is that even when I was working in high technology in Silicon Valley for 20 years, every morning I would get up before work and I would paint for an hour, and I would take an afternoon, and go be with my teacher. I negotiated, I need to go have my weekly session with my art teacher. I need to be outside. I need to be in nature. I need to do art, and you're just going to have to deal with it. And all my bosses were just like, That's who she is. Just let her do it. She's really good at what she does. So I had this opportunity, right? I kept it open. And so the one thing you can do to wake it back up is to get creative, do some art, do something creative, open up the child within you and let that start to guide you. And you also have to clean the inner clutter. The more hollow your bone is, this is like what the Indigenous Americans say, is that we want to be the hollow bone of spirit as healers, especially, but just in general. The more hollowed out we are, the less gunk we have inside of us. And, when I say gunk, I mean resentments, judgments, anger, hatred, I don't like this person, stories, narratives that aren't productive.
All the drama.
And so the less drama you have inside your bone, the more hollow it is. And the more hollow it is, the more you can hear. You just can't hear because there's too much what the Toltec call matote. Matote means like bad concert, like really loud, marketplace where everyone's shouting at each other and you can't even hear yourself think. So most of us have that inside of ourselves for a long time. And I used to even get like dreams, nightmares, where there was like this intense white noise. So if anybody's experienced that, that's like really negative energetic forces that sometimes come and align with you when you're in a dark place. And it can catalyze you into a new place. So I don't like to make those things wrong or bad, but there's something that can help you catalyze yourself into, I don't want to be threatened with this energy anymore. I'd rather lift myself into a higher place where I'm out of resonance with that.
That's amazing. Well, you guide people, which you can tell by hearing your story, how you're able to do that. You guide people to connect with Mother Earth and our ancestors for wisdom, which you say transforms all challenges and obstacles into inner medicine. So tell us about inner medicine and how we can transform our challenges and obstacles.
Yeah, absolutely. So inner medicine training is based in Indigenous philosophy, Indigenous practice. And we leverage the ancestral lineages, the unbroken ancestral lineages of the Q'ero Nation from Peru, the Wisharika from Mexico, who I and my husband have studied with, and also the Shapitbo in the jungle, who we've also studied with. So we have several lineages that unbroken, meaning that they were not colonized. They kept their traditions and their connection with Mother Earth, which is very important at this time because they remember who she is and they remember who we are. And most of us have forgotten that connection. And so to get reconnected is really great to be with people that know that already.
I'm sure they're very concerned right now with what's going on with Mother Earth.
Absolutely. That's why they really...
There's so much abuse to Mother Earth right now.
That's why they support people like me to do these programs because, it's like, thank you for taking up the cause of being an earth keeper, a medicine carrier, because we need you right now on the planet. So they want people to come in and step in and do this work so that you can also contribute your energy and your intention towards healing the planet. And so that's really inner medicine. When I asked myself my purpose, what's on my heart, what was on my heart was Mother Earth, and wanting, now that I know what a sacred place this is, that this is the Garden of Eden, I want to protect it. And so my question to myself was, how can I do that as just one being? And the answer was, invite people to learn, teach them, invite them to learn. And so that's what I've done and I've created in this inner medicine training.
That's amazing. And why do you call this, for people who are wondering, why are you calling Earth the Garden of Eden?
Because it is this place where we can co-create anything we desire. This is the place where the divine meets the material. And we basically, with our intention and our consciousness, we can manifest any potential into being in these dimensional realities on Earth. That's incredible. It's actually an honor to be here and it's a gift. But we've forgotten that because of the way that we have chosen as souls to use this ability to create outcomes that have been quite challenging, right, for us to experience.
It's really all about choice. And you and I are all about the choice that you can choose to change your life. You can choose to transform, choose to heal. But it takes a lot of courage. And man, you're filled with it.
It takes courage and it takes determination. Plus, I had 2 little boys and I didn't want to leave them without a mom.
And that's the motivation. That my son was a lot of motivation for me and the growth that I had in my life too. So this is fascinating to me. You had a week from, you'll pardon the expression, hell. you had a terrible, like a lot of people go through stuff like this. You have a day or a week or something that is beyond what in the world is this all about. It is so challenging, so stressful. And you used the self-mastery and present tools that you teach in intermedicine to hold your space without going into compassion burnout, which is amazing because other people would be popping pills and God only knows what. So tell us about that. It's like amazing. I'm reading it. I'm like, oh my goodness, look what she went through. Go ahead, share, please.
Yeah, there was somebody that we really love dearly, deeply, who has a very rare mental illness, and it only affects about 1% of the population. And is somebody that we really care about. And he had chosen to go off on his own. He didn't want to take medications anymore. And he had been homeless and in car and really struggling. We were getting reports for like 5 months about how he was struggling. It was so hard to witness. But he had to choose to live. And so he came back at the beginning of the week and said, okay, I'm ready. I want to go back in a facility. I want to go back on medication. I want to be helped. And I'm not a fan of pharmaceuticals all the time, but in some people it helps. And so for some people it's the right choice. And for him, definitely the right choice. So we were really dismayed to see the condition he was in. We were also really happy he wanted help. And he was coming at a time when my husband's father had just had a fall the week before. And then all of a sudden he was like downgrading fast. And we got the message he was going to die. So like literally the very next day, we were gathering all the family together at the hospital and giving his last wishes, which was to help him have a shamanic healing, to ascend without all that heavy density, all that, what they call hucha, the heaviness, all that karma, to clear it all out. And so we were gathering, and my husband and I were holding space for the family and doing healings and like helping him transcend and helping all the family accept it. And then like the next day was my son's birthday.
Oh my goodness.
And then the next day my brother was in from out of town and it was his birthday. And then it was like, all of this happened in the space of 5 days. Plus we had a couple students that were in crisis and they needed help. So it was a test of our ability to stay focused and present and a witness, compassionate, but not taking it on, and being really grounded ourselves and all of our energetic cleansing practices we do to clear our energy so we're not taking it on, and that we really respect and honor each person's life journey for exactly what they're choosing, the culmination of their choices without judgment. And so, yeah, all of that was happening.
It sounds like what you did was you kept more of a witness stance to what was happening, doing what you could, but you know that sometimes you can't keep people from suffering. They have choice and you have to kind of witness their journey. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I've learned through this journey, especially this beloved person who's been on a really intense journey, I've learned that I can't prevent suffering. I'm a great teacher. I've got lots of wisdom to share. But if the person's not open and that's not their path and they don't want to learn that, they have to find their own way. And they're only going to find it when they're ready. And, that's what I also learned in my journey, right? Like I had 20 years of just basically going to psychotherapy sessions and complaining about my life, the same stories repeated week after week. And no matter how hard those therapists were probably trying to help me, I wasn't ready.
I've experienced also, because I've used a combination of traditional healing and energetic healing. At least they made you aware of your issues. They made you aware of the history. They made you aware of why you became who you were, but you needed some extra oomph, it sounds like, in other modalities to cross the bridge to actually healing and letting go, right?
Exactly. And that's why in our medicine training, we incorporate a lot of energy healing, shamanic energy healing. We incorporate soul retrieval and curse removal and entity removal and a lot of things that people are sitting here, if they don't know all that stuff, is like, wow, that sounds like a lot of stuff. What is that? And if you got any little spidey tingles when I said any of those things, you might need that.
That's right. Everybody pay attention.
Yeah.
Right? So Kerri, educate us also. You also say that we are each on a unique soul journey and that everything arising in each of our lives is calling us to choose our soul over whatever is presenting outside that person, which actually points back to the story you just told. So can you explain that? Does every single person come into a body with an actual calling and a soul purpose? Because a lot of us haven't gotten the message, or we forgot it, or it hasn't activated within us, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes, the answer is yes. And if everybody takes a moment and just look at your thumbprint, that's unique. Nobody else has a thumbprint like yours. They've proven it. Everybody's thumbprint is totally unique. And I think that's divine's way of telling us your journey is unique. Nobody else will ever have the combination of experiences that you're having. It's unique. Just one of a kind. So if you don't explore it, nobody else will.
And are you having these experiences? Do you set them up?
Yeah. Once we get in the training program, what happens is that we're basically saying to spirit source, we're ready. We're ready to learn. We're ready to remember. We're ready to do our work. And then they bring us, our guides and source brings us experiences every week of the program that shows you very clearly what it is you need to work on. Maybe you have somebody cut you off in traffic and you get really angry and you get like road rage. Well, now you're like, that's right. This week we're working on anger. That's my version of anger. That really pisses me off. And you'll know that that's the thing you need to work on because there's some deep wound there that needs healing, you know? And so, yeah, it happens. And, you know, in terms of knowing that you have a unique life plan, besides just trusting me, the thing that's helped me with that is the gene keys. It's GeneKeys. Richard Rudd has put together a beautiful website. It takes your time and date of birth, your astrology, your location of birth, and it gives you a chart. And when I looked at my chart, the chart shows all the shadow frequencies that you're struggling with in this lifetime. Like mine includes judgment and opinion and you know, impatience and stress and all these things. And I'm like, this is completely my life. Like I looked at it and I'm like, these are all the things that I struggle with. Like, I don't know what to do with any of this stuff. And then what it does is it gives you a map, you know, it charts the course through how could you get to a higher place with it? You know, what's the medicine you need? Like with judgment,
Fantastic.
I need integrity, you know, and then I have to realize that everything is always perfect all the time. And if I can do that, I can see like every challenge I get is helping me to be integrous and strong. So it's a pathway. So we use that. We actually integrate with that gene keys and we integrate it with the Mesa work, the medicine bundle that we create using the technology of the Caro indigenous people up high in the Andes Mountains. So we take the shamanism and we combine it with this Himalayan wisdom from all these masters that developed the I Ching that shows up in the gene keys. And we just put the two together and it's like lightning. It's just like,
wow, that's amazing. That's fantastic.
It's incredible.
And is this how you talk about inner power? Is this how you are? Is the inner power the purpose in our soul? What we came to, how do you define that inner power that helps us transform those challenges and obstacles? I mean, and the other thing I have to comment is you're so open and literally objective as to all the places you need to heal. And a lot of people are not. They're in denial. And it's such a breath of fresh air and something to be transmitted to people to be able to own your stuff. Because unless you own it, you ain't going to heal it. Right?
Exactly. That's the thing I realized, right? Because I had to choose to live. And the second decision I had to make was to own my stuff. So once you own your stuff, and what happens is that you shift out of victim mentality, like this is all happening to me, and you practice knowing that it's happening for you, by you, through you, for your highest good. As you, because your soul planned this whole curriculum. I mean, you're a perfect design. And the proof is in the pudding. You look up your gene keys chart and you go, that's me. Oh my God, I was actually planned to be this way. So it helps you to love yourself. It helps you to accept yourself. And it helps you to navigate to those higher frequencies you'd like to do by practicing mastery. But if we don't accept responsibility, we're stuck. We're stuck in victimization, martyrdom, all these really heavy frequencies that suck.
So what do you term the inner power, Kerri? Is that the soul purpose, or?
It's a return to essence. So, you know, when Michelangelo carved the statue of David, basically he said the statue was already inside the stone and he was only carving away what was not the statue. So when we are doing this inner medicine work and we're doing shadow work and we're intentionally triggering ourselves, we're doing that so that we can find the places that there's stuck energy that's not in congruence with who we really are. Because we also have a statue of David inside of us. It's just got your name on it. And what we're doing is we're releasing one layer at a time all of the stuff we created in our life that isn't actually us.
What I love about your program and what you do, and the feeling that I get, is there's a tremendous amount of loving acceptance. Nobody's judging anything. So everyone is bringing their own stuff and putting it out there to be healed, to be looked at and healed. Nobody's saying, oh, you're a terrible person for doing this or that or whatever, which is beautiful. That is really what helps to promote healing. And this is a very important question from my heart to yours, because I think it's so important. Why is it important to become discerning? And how can we tune in to our own inner guidance in a way to protect ourselves from those toxic elements and become more discerning about everything in our lives, the people, what we're doing, and all that? Share your wisdom, Kerri.
Yeah, well, the discernment is important, and it's around what is mine and what is theirs, because we do want to take responsibility for what's ours, but what's not helpful is taking responsibility for someone else's stuff. And when we're little kids, we often do take on energies from our parents to try to help them, and then we're stuck with those energies because we can't do anything with them. They're not ours to process. And so at some point, we've got to relieve ourselves of all of that stuff we took on from people we care about, trying to help them and release it and let them solve it. And when we do that, we get lighter, we get freer. And, you know, sometimes it's hard to discern what's yours and what someone else's because there might be a matching picture. Like it might be some of both. Like it's them, but it's also showing you something you don't like about yourself, like an energy within you that you don't like. So when you encounter that in someone, the thing to do is to find it within yourself. If you're feeling it in your body, it's yours. And so you can deal with the part that's yours and heal that. And when you heal that, the outer world will shift, and you'll either, the same person's doing the same thing and you just won't be bothered by it, or you know, they'll just kind of find somebody else.
And you'll detach from it.
They'll just move along to find somebody else who wants to play that version of the game. And you're just saying, I'm complete with that. Thank you for showing me that game. And I'm complete. I'm complete with that.
That's great. And the other, well, that's actually, you just answered this next question. How can we make the shift from trying to control the outside world to noticing the outer world and accepting its reflection as a mirror of ourselves, which that is what happens when we see other people and it triggers us. It's giving us a mirror to our stuff. So my next question is, please, and this is such a beautiful concept, and I would love everyone to live with an idea in their brains that they are consciously relating, that they're changing the way they relate to people. They're conscious about it. And how can conscious relating help people to leave the stress and drama behind in favor of self-care and conscious relating? And what do you call self-care also? I mean, this is such a loaded, important question for people.
Really important. So the first decision you have to make is to be undefended. So a lot of conflict in relationship has to do with thinking that somebody outside of you can do anything to control your essence, you know, your insides. That they can't control your insides, only if you let them. So when someone's doing something that you really find offensive or you don't like, and they're trying to control you, let's say, that is an opportunity to go within you, find all the places where you have been controlled or where that lives in your body. It might be in your ancestral DNA. It might be in past lives where you were imprisoned or who knows what. Find what's stirred up inside you, do that healing work, release that energy, release that lesson, and come into peace and acceptance. And when you're in that place, you have clear boundaries because you know that you're sovereign. And from that sovereignty, that they can't change what's on the inside of you. Like Gandhi was imprisoned for how many years, right? But his inner peace remained despite his circumstances. And so we can learn to maintain our inner peace no matter what the outer circumstances are trying to convince us can be done to us, because we know that we are choosing to witness this and have this experience so that we can move through it to heal it and all the times it happened before in our ancestry and in our past lives and everything, because we're wrapping up this paradigm. We're concluding this. So if you just keep looking at it like, I'm wrapping up my lessons, I'm completing my lessons in Earth School. I learned a lot in my many lifetimes. My ancestors learned a lot. I'm clearing this energy. I no longer want to play this game. If you think of it that way, everything that triggers you is an opportunity to go within. And then you can be in gratitude for that person. Like, thank you for showing me another space where I need some clearing work because I'm still attached, or I'm still thinking that somebody can do something to me beyond my will.
It's almost like using a pointer like they would in school to say, okay, here it is. This got triggered, this is what I need to do. And to be more conscious in your relationships. Maybe I don't want a relationship as deeply with this person because they're toxic or whatever. Yeah.
And what we perceive as toxic in somebody else is potentially a matching wound that is unhealed within us. And so when we're able to heal that wound, like, I mean, it took me a good 10 years of doing personal healing work regarding the father of my children, for example. Very, very toxic relationship. At the end, you know, the divorce led to a lot of hurt feelings, and those hurt feelings led to behaviors that really hurt my heart as a mother. And there was a lot of resentment and anger, you know, towards him, right? And so over the years, it's taken me...
It sounds like he played out a lot of unhealed wounds onto you and your relationship.
Yeah, unhealed wounds, right? And we were a match for that before. That's how we got together in the first place. So I saw it as part of my soul's curriculum to clear all the ways that I was engaging in that dynamic and that pattern to the place where I could just be in compassion for him. And so now I just see his limitations, that he is self-imposed on himself. And I think to myself, wow, what missed opportunities he's had. And that I have compassion for his missed opportunities to have reconciliation, to have a united family. There's a lot of gifts that he has specifically chosen not to have for himself. And that's his choice, you know, and we're not here to force anyone, you know, and sometimes forgiveness might take several lifetimes, right? So we have to accept people's process. And sometimes people prefer holding on to their wounds and living from those old narratives, and they do. The idea, maybe they don't believe something greater is possible, and so they don't even try. But if you're here listening to this, you know something more is possible. So you're the one that's awake. You're the one that's aware of the opportunity, and you're therefore the one responsible because you can respond. Response able. And you are response able to do the work. Yeah.
It's response able. I love that. I love it. And what do you call the gold when you say that if we learn the lessons life imparts to us, we can claim the gold? What do you define as the gold, Kerri?
You know, liberation for me, but everybody's got a different value that they're fulfilling. But for me, the gold could be, you know, as a mom, I've done lots of deconstruction work on expectations of me as a mother, like what I should do and what I shouldn't do and what society judges as wrong or bad or whatever. And as I faced all those things, it's been really uncomfortable because I have faced some judgment. And I gained my own knowing of my truth. I gained my embodied knowing that everything that I've done has been for the highest good. Every action I've taken, every decision I've made has been, for the last 12 years, has been in concert with the divine and with my inner knowing and a full embodied knowing. And even if it was hard to do it, it was the right thing to do. And I might not see the blessings of it till much later. But sometimes when, you know, we have to know it first within ourselves, and that's the first medicine. Sometimes we get a little bit of a later icing on the cake where we see, oh, that was the right choice. Look at this. You know, this person's completely flourishing now. And then they come back and say, that was what I needed. I needed a kick in the pants, or I needed this. So we have to trust ourselves. And I think women have lost their ability to trust themselves. It's been programmed out of us actually through some very specific methodologies and institutions. And we get to reclaim it now. And so that's also gold. Like when you reclaim your power and your knowing in yourself, that it by itself is a victory. It's a victory when you live your life from that place.
And it's very freeing. Very, very freeing. Mm-hmm. And then people will ask you, how come you seem to register joy when everything is falling apart around you? And you're registering joy because you've unloaded the backpack of stuff that was pulling you down. And right, would you agree with that? And you have a much more elevated way of addressing your life.
It's a more elevated way, and it also includes all the suffering. Like when you get to joy, joy wraps its arms around grief. Joy says, you're welcome here. I got you.
Right.
Joy is so expansive and so high vibrational and so loving and so huge. It can wrap its arms around anger, hatred, everything.
Right. It changes the whole thing. And now that we're talking about that, would you please define, because we're talking about becoming spiritual human beings, which is called Homo Luminous.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know that you talk a lot about Homo Luminous and the spiritual human being in your book, Inner Medicine, Becoming One with Mother Earth for the Survival of Humanity. So tell us about this wake-up call to go on a great departure from all we've ever known, step into the mystery, and for the survival of humanity, and make a bid for, this is huge, and make a bid for power to evolve to Homo Luminous. So from this interview, what a marvelous thing if people can kick off to saying, hey, I can evolve to this Homo Luminous idea. So tell us more about that, Kerri.
Yeah, so Homo Luminous would be, there's people on the planet who have achieved what they call the rainbow body. And that's the very high frequency spiritual master. And Buddha did it, so Buddha, Siddhartha, right, is one. Jesus is another. There's been luminaries throughout time. And there's even been, I've met a Karo woman from the Andes, and we saw the rainbow body, like literally like a rainbow bubble around her. And we took a picture and there was the rainbow bubble around her entire body. She has attained a state of munai, of unconditional love. And it's possible for all of us. And how do we do it? We make the decision. I'm walking Homo Luminous. It might take me lifetimes. I'm on my way. I might do it in this lifetime. I might do it in another, but I'm initiating the journey. I choose this for myself. I choose to be awakened. I choose to be a integrated human with my divine soul embodied in this flesh. And I choose to activate the wisdom of my corpus callosum in my brain and my frontal cortex. And I choose to live my life from these brains rather than mostly living from the reptilian brain, which is reactive and survival, and the limbic brain, which is emotional. These are wonderful brains. They give us so much, but that's not the complete story. And most of us are only using half of our brains. We're not using the higher reasoning. We're not using our heart medicine, our heart brain, or our gut brain, our body's intelligence. So there's a lot more intelligence that can be woken up inside of us. That's the path to Homo Luminous, into the rainbow body. And it gives you just a higher view. It's like instead of being on the ground scrapping it out, you're like eagle flying and looking at everything from a distance, from up above. But you can go down into it. You can go all the way down to the ground, and you can see all the way down to the ground. But when you're flying like eagle, you're embracing all of life, and you're not in the storm itself. If you're the tornado, you're not being whipped around inside the winds of the tornado. You're in the center of the tornado. That's a different space to be in, and that's Homo Luminous.
That's beautiful. Would you like to share your inspiring story called Hummingbird Meeting Me in the Forest, which connected you to a new source of safety that enabled you to begin to become Homo Luminous?
Yeah, because I don't know if anybody here suffers from this issue, but I had some trust problems.
Understandable from your childhood.
Didn't believe, I was like testing everything. I still ask a dozen times when I'm going to make a decision. So I was out on a piece of property that I hold dear, and I was on a vision quest modified for Western people, not a traditional vision quest or the indigenous, which is way more hard. And on this vision quest, we only had water and with lime juice in it and a tent to sleep in, but we didn't have any food, and we weren't allowed to have any like brain stuff, like no technology, no books, no nothing, just sit and be quiet. And so it was day one. Okay. And
that must have been hard though. Isn't that hard when you first start that?
So hard. And I'm a busy person like everybody else, right? I can catch myself in the Western busy. And so I was first morning on the property, and I had already set up my tent, unpacked everything, fixed the medicine wheel on the property. And then I was like, that was the first 2 hours. And I was like, I have 3 days here. Dang, what am I going to do? So I decided, and you're not supposed to like go anywhere, just stay on your little postage stamp. Don't go anywhere. So I walked down the little path that I was allowed to be on. and there was this huge rock. And so I stood up on it like a stage, because I'm a sage, and I thought, okay, I'll perform. And I started singing an Icaro, which is a healing song. It's a medicine song. And the song was calling in all my allies. And I'd been doing this for a while. I'd been taught to do this, and so I was doing it. But I guess I didn't really think it was happening, because I just thought I'm singing a song, but who knows what's happening. So I was calling in all these allies, and then about a few minutes in, I'm getting ready to finish the song, and I had this little inner giggle, and I said, I'm going to call in Hummingbird. And so I called in Hummingbird, and literally as I was calling it in, a hummingbird flew through the forest, stayed right in front of me, like it was 12 inches or less from my face, and it hovered there. And I was like, wow. I mean, I stopped singing. I was like, oh.
I just called this in. Wow.
And then it stayed there so long, it was getting awkward because I didn't know how long it was going to be there. And then I said, I think you're trying to tell me that when I call, you answer. And it nodded its head.
Wow.
And then it flew away.
That's incredible. Talk about an experience that tells you
Spirit is listening all the time. Mother Earth is in our bodies. I mean, how could she not be listening to us? We're made of her. All of a sudden I realized she hears all of my thoughts. She knows all of my feelings. She's talking to me with all of my body twerks and things. Oh my goodness. Woo-wee. She's right with me. There's no hiding anything. Talk about transparency. There really is no hiding anything from Mother Earth. She knows us intimately down to the nook and cranny, and she will give us exactly the lessons we need to evolve our consciousness. She's right there with us every single step, and all of her allies that she created are here for us too. And this is the place. Earth is the school where we ascend our consciousness in love. And so we're doing it.
And as we ascend our consciousness in love, we are more and more going into the Age of Aquarius.
Yes.
Which emphasizes unity, innovation, a greater awareness of our interconnectedness, right? And it's hard to believe right now in this moment that we are in the middle of a shift in our conscious collectiveness. So would you like to teach us and talk to us about the essential piece of this puzzle regarding how a new Earth can come into being at the Age of Aquarius in this day and age? Wow.
Yeah, there's a lot we have to witness. So that's what I'll say first. The fact that there's so much shadow to be witnessed right now. When I say shadow, I mean trauma and devastation and loss. And, fire is a purifier. So a lot of California is getting purified by fire right now. Water is also a purifier. So the East Coast, all of this. This is nature using her elements to purify the land, help us to let go of the past, help us to see what needs to be seen, help us to witness what new choices we need to make, what historical ideas and patterns we need to release, what we need to forgive and let go, and what we need to face and feel. And so all of that is what has to happen in order to wake up. I mean, we're waking up to who we have been. We've got to know the full picture so that we can make new choices. And so the faster that we face it, the better. And some of us are sticking our heads in the sand and have been for a while, which is why the things are getting more extreme. So it will get more extreme until everybody comes along and pays attention. So eventually everyone will pay attention. Let's just hope it's not too late, which for us, for humanity to survive, right? So Earth will go on. She will just wipe the slate clear and be done. But we are here many of us are here at this time to support this human species to evolve its consciousness into Homo luminous so that it can stay on the planet. Homo sapien will die out, just like every other evolution of humanity before. That old evolution dies out. The new one comes into play because it's for a new time. And so what we all experience as Homo sapien is going to die out. And so if we want to stay relevant, we've got to do the work in order to become Homo luminous.
So would you say Homo sapien is more of the 3D mentality, and Homo luminous is where as the vibration rises, we're going towards Homo luminous? And what happens to the people if there's enough of an energetic rise to Homo luminous? What happens to the people who say, heck no, I'm Homo sapien. I ain't leaving. I ain't changing my way.
Well, it's the tipping point philosophy, right? And so the more of us that say yes to this journey, that, you know, dump out bucket loads of fear and, you know, heavy emotions and all that kind of stuff, and say, we're forgiving this, we're releasing it, we're erasing this, we're moving forward, blank slate. And we're moving forward in a higher way, at a higher frequency, at a higher level, right? We're going into the fourth and fifth dimensions. Those others will get just more and more uncomfortable. It's like backed into a corner by the energy and like forced into greater and greater, more difficult, you know, 2x4s, but they become like Mack trucks, you know? So, and if they choose not to, they'll simply die. And then they'll incarnate on a planet with a lower frequency, because Mother Earth's frequency is rising. So the only frequency that Mother Earth is going to be able to support is Homo Luminous.
Which is a wonderful way to say to everybody, go join one of Kerri's retreats and like let her help you rise to this Homo Luminous state, right? So I want you to describe people can connect with you in so many ways. They connect with you for healing. Do you have connection calls, shamanic healing, an illumination healing session, private mentorings, and you've got a retreat coming up. So tell us all about all of it, Kerri.
Yeah, so I do individual healing sessions. That's on my website, kerrihummingbird.com. That'll be in the notes. I also do retreats to Peru. So if you want to visit to Peru in person and work with the medicine keepers in person in these sacred locations, it's amazing. It's transformative. It's incredible. It's magical. It's 10 days that will completely change your life. It's just so magical. And we're going to go to Lake Titicaca this year, which I'm so excited, as well as the Holy Mountain.
Wait. So tell us, what is Lake Titicaca?
Lake Titicaca is the highest lake in the world. And it's the birthplace of the Inca. And so we're really excited to go there. I haven't even been there, so it's exciting for me. So that's going to be a really cool trip. 10 days of magic. And
that's in Peru.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to record an intro webinar about it. That will be on my website. This is going to come out probably after that, but it'll be on my website. People can watch it to get an idea, and also book a discovery call if you're interested. But if you're a Mesa carrier, it's going to be even more powerful, which is why we invite people to be part of our inner medicine training. Because if you're going to go to Peru, it's great to be working on their medicine when you go, and have your medicine bundle, have your bundle of cloths with all your sacred stones inside, so that the shaman can bless it and bless you as an earth keeper, as a steward of the way forward into Homo Luminous. You can have this Mesa, and you can receive these activations from the lineage to support you on your path. And then what I do and my husband do, is we meet with people over Zoom every single week. So wherever you live in the world, we work with you every single week and give you those energetic activations that support you receiving the rainbow body, activating it within your field. And it's not just an insto presto, like you've got to do your work to release your own shadows and make new choices.
What do you call the rainbow body, Kerri?
It's like in your auric field, there's actually a rainbow around your whole auric field when you achieve this. And you can see it like in firelight. Or
do people have different colors in their rainbow, or is it basically the same? Once you've achieved Homo Luminous, it's basically uniform.
You know, my auric, I would say, is probably can express itself whatever way it wants to, because it's conscious. I mean, I've had mine be turquoise, like, and with the shape of a cat. Like people have caught it on film.
Wow.
Like it's like a cat looking around, and it has like this turquoise light, and they've actually caught it at one of our firewalks. We lead firewalks in Austin. They caught it on camera. So the one I saw of the medicine woman, hers is a rainbow. It literally had her auric field with a rainbow around the entire thing. It's like, wow, that's incredible.
That's amazing. What is your special offer for our Grief and Rebirth podcast audience today? Lucky people who get to enjoy.
Yeah, my special offer is like inner medicine meditation pack, and you can download that. I've got a bunch of meditations, including that one around discernment, right? We talked about how do you discern what's mine and what's theirs. I actually created a meditation for my students, and I offer it in this pack.
I love that.
You can listen to it, and it'll help you visualize, guided visualization to help you see, oh, that part's mine and that part's theirs. Oh, and then there's a clearing one, so you can clear up the energy. So there's a grounding meditation, a shielding meditation. There's a lot of meditations, and that is also at that link that you're going to give.
Right, and you also are giving people a lovely offer for signing up for inner medicine training. right? If they acknowledge that they came from the podcast.
Yeah, if they acknowledge they came from the podcast, there's a $250 bonus.
That's fabulous. And we will put that in the show notes and everywhere. And tell me, Kerri, why is it important to heal our buried resentments and unresolved traumas in this lifetime instead of saying, too much trouble, I'm pushing it off, I'll come back around again, I'll address it next time?
Well, I think the thing to realize, this is such a gross example, but it really has been effective. So apologies in advance if this sticks with you guys, but I really want you to get the point. So if you go to get your toes painted, right? You go to get a pedicure and they scrape off all the old dead, everything that's dead, they scrape it off your feet, right? Because you don't need that stuff anymore. And then you have brand new, shiny, pretty feet with beautiful polish. The only thing you're walking out of that pedicure shop with is your pretty feet. So why would you hold on to the scrapings in your life? Why would you hold on to what's dead? Why would you carry it around with you in suitcases?
Beautiful analogy.
It served its time. It's dead. It's not alive anymore. So you want to dump everything that's dead with honor, with grace, with gratitude, release it, and open up for that new, shiny, polished toes, with soft silkiness, that homo-luminous. Like, step into who you're meant to be.
Kerri. And what is the Kerri Hummingbird tip for finding joy in life?
Presence, being as present as possible. Not in the past, thinking about what just happened 10 years ago over and over again. I used to do that. It didn't lead to happiness. Not thinking about what's in the future and worrying about it. And I know everyone said this, so I'm just saying I'm being another person that says this. But being as much as possible right here, right now. Because the present is the present. What's happening right here with me and Irene and you all listening is beautiful. So when we can give our total presence to it, we can receive so much healing, so much wisdom. It sinks in. And if you've been distracted and busy during this podcast and doing 5 other things, my invitation is come back, close your eyes, sit quiet in a dark room, and listen. Listen to it again. Receive it. Let it drop in.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Kerri, I could not agree more with this. I mean, you are filled with wisdom and wise quotes, but I love this one especially. On the other side of the deep healing is the forgiveness that releases all souls from the contracts that keep suffering in place. The veil lifts, and beyond all souls played, narcissist, empath, racist, dictator, misogynist, betrayer, are souls in human bodies with little children inside who need love and understanding to return to the true selves within that remember who we are. Kerri, as always, my heartfelt thank you for the remarkable ways you inspire people to lead their lives wide awake with an authenticity, passion, and purpose that positively impacts others, for helping people to transform their life challenges into gifts of wisdom, and for another enlightening, inspiring, and uplifting interview filled with healing insights on Grief and Rebirth podcasts. As I like to say, to be continued. Thank you, Kerri.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Irene, and thank you, everyone, for listening.
It's so my pleasure, and to be continued.
To be continued.
Thanks for tuning in to Grief and Rebirth. Remember, you can dive deeper into everything we've discussed by checking out the show notes and all past episodes at ireneweinberg.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Irene S. Weinberg on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and wherever you love to hang out online. Plus, we're on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe and never miss a video. For those of you listening, you'll find links to my 2 books, Good to the Last Drop and They Serve Bagels in Heaven, in the show notes. And if you're watching on YouTube, you can see those books listed right above, so don't miss out. And here comes a special treat.
If you sign up for Audible as a first-time user using my link, which you can find in the show notes, you can get They Serve Bagels in Heaven for free. And finally, people often ask me what I read, what I use, and what I recommend for healing and self-care. So I've carefully curated a compilation of those items to share with you. You can head over to kit.co/grief and rebirth to check them out. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, many blessings.